everyone, it's Jessica from La Bruja Jessica, and I know it's been a minute and I literally have not posted a video in forever, but today is Halloween and I did want to post a video just in honor of Halloween and just to kind of catch up on the things that I've been working on. I also wanted to do a different type of video. I figured I wanted to do a story time video. So there's two topics that I'm going to touch on. I really feel that I had to put this out there because I don't know if there's similar people out there who are experiencing or have experienced the same thing as me. And I just wanted to put this video out there to help someone, or maybe somebody can relate, or maybe somebody has answers for me. Okay, so we'll start with my story time topic number one, working with a pendulum. Okay, so when I first started doing tarot, I was just new to everything, did not know much about anything, and I had seen a video and they were talking about working with the pendulum. So I thought, oh yeah, that's cool. Maybe I can include that in my tarot. That will help me understand my cards a bit better. And whatever. So when I first started tarot, I started doing tarot, just like on family members and things like that. Like, just to kind of gauge and see what was accurate, what wasn't accurate. And it got really boring because, you're doing readings on the same people and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's boring. I already knew that, So I was like, well, let me start, incorporating the pendulum to see if we can start doing other things. So I had an experience, and I won't get into the details of what led to that certain experience, but there was one day that I did use the pendulum, and because mind you, I had been using the pendulum for quite some time. And when I say pendulum, it was not even a fancy one. It was this exact one here. Okay, I have my necklace here. Because I saw a video, like, when I first heard about it, I was like, well, I didn't have money to go buy one. So, I saw a video and they're like, oh, you can use anything, it can, you basically ask it to say yes, what is yes, what is no, whatever. So, there was one particular day that, the pendulum prior to this day, everything was on point. Everything was pretty just accurate, okay? There were people that were asking the pendulum things that I didn't know anything about, and it was still accurate. So I was like, wow, this is so dope, And on that particular day is when the pendulum just started kind of going out of whack. Like, it was just, contradicting, its answers. So if it was like a yes and it was like a no, it was like a yes, and it was all off. And I was like, dang, like what is up with this pendulum today? So I remember that day I had become super obsessed with my tarot cards. Like, I was doing tarot nonstop. I was so fixated on the cards. I was like, no, like I just couldn't put them down. And in the corner of my eye, I had thought I seen something like dark, to my left, but I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, like maybe I'm just tired. I've been at these fucking cards all day. This thing keeps moving. I've been at these cards all day, and maybe it's just my eyes. So didn't think nothing of it. Finally, I did put my cards down, did the mom thing, fed my kids, did the normal, the usual. And then that night, I remember I lit a candle. I always light a candle. Just being a witch, I like to light candles. That's my thing. I won't get into details about that. But anyways, so I lit a candle. I went to bed that night. Now, when I went to bed, I was having the most horrible nightmare that you can think of. Like, okay, I'll get into details about this dream. So I dreamt that I was in my mother's home, which is where I used to live. now that I live on my own now. So I was in my old bedroom, and there was this siren going off, like kind of like an eerie siren, like, you know, like those evil clowns that come into town. And it was like, hide your children, hide your men. And it was like, we're going to take your women and take your children. And it said, hide the women, hide the children, because once we find them, or something like that, you know, something to that effect. And I remember my heart just started beating, and I was like, oh my God. So in my dream, I went down the hallway to my mom's room, and my mom was already like underneath the bed. And my mom was already underneath the bed, and like, I don't know, it was like some elaborate thing where she was like there was like a whole room underneath the bed, but there was only room enough for my daughter. So I ended up giving my daughter, because my daughter was in my dream too, I ended up giving my daughter to my mom, and then my mom took her, you know, underneath there. And I just knew that like that was it, like I was going to die in my dream. And like, because I told my mom, I was like, please, I was like, just take care of her. And my dad was in my dream too. He was standing by the window, like staring out there, like holding a gun. And I just knew like, oh shit, like this is it, this is the last time I'm going to be alive. And then next thing you know, I heard the footsteps, heard them, like the evil clowns running up the stairs, and then boom, like I woke up. So I was like, I woke up, I was like, you know, I was petrified. I was so scared. I was like, what the fuck? Like, okay, you know, it was just a bad dream, like didn't think much of it. So I'm laying there in bed trying to, you know, just not like, just be like, what the fuck, just what kind of stupid dream was that? And try not to think about it. Then all of a sudden, like I noticed that, and mind you, where I sleep, there wasn't anything open, no fans going, no AC blowing, nothing was open, okay? So all of a sudden I look at my candle, and my candle, you know, it does its normal little flicker, but it's like, I mean, it's going crazy, okay? My candle is going insane, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's not normal, that never happens. And then all of a sudden I hear something above me, and what I can describe it as is like, it sounded so it just sounded so heavy. It sounded like, I can't describe, it sounded dark and it sounded heavy. And I heard it above me. And my cat that I sleep with, her name is Lyra. She's my favorite cat, you know, my A1 day one. She looks up, and so I'm like, okay. Like, so she's looking up, and I'm like, all right, I you know, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden she's like, she gets up and she's looking up. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, so what I'm hearing, she's fucking seen. And so all of a sudden my candle now, it almost dips to where the point where it's going to go out. And next thing I know, it's to my left. And I'm like, I hear it again, that evil, heavy sound. All of a sudden now it's to my left. And now Lyra, my cat, she turns to the left. And out of nowhere, at that time I had 2 cats, but I have a total of 3 right now. So at that time, you know, just having 2 cats, Nova, my other cat, she comes out of nowhere. She comes from underneath the bed, and she gets on her hind legs, and she's looking to the left. Okay, so she's looking to the left, and she's looking like, what the, like the look in her eyes was like, what the fuck is that? Like, and so now I'm petrified. Now I'm freaking the fuck out. Now I'm like, oh my God, the fucking cats are on alert. Whatever the hell is, you know, was above me, went to the left of me, and now, you know, in the hallway, and now headed towards my kids' room. So I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I call my daughter's father. And it's like a typical freaking, you know, horror movie. And it's like, oh, line is busy, you know, and I'm just like, oh my fucking God. So all I could think of was to get my sage. So I'm lighting my sage at the stove. I'm like literally shaking, trying to light this sage, okay? And I'm calling him and you know, texting him, please call me back, please, 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 please. And so finally he calls me back. And because he's in the military, so he was working, he was doing graveyard. So he calls me back and he's just like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, something's in the house, something's in here. And he's just like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's something in here. And he's like, you need to calm down. I'm like, don't tell me to calm down. That's the last thing you need to tell me right now. So he thinks I'm fucking going crazy. I know I'm not going crazy because there's something in my apartment, okay? So I was like, I have to go in the freaking room. You know, while he's on the phone, I have to go into the room because my kids are in there, you know? Like, I can't just be like, okay, peace, kids, you know, it was cool. No. So I go in the room with him on the phone, shaking, petrified, because I'm telling you, what the fuck I heard above me, to the left of me, what the cats are fucking seeing, it was crazy. It was crazy enough where, like, it felt so evil, okay? So I literally, you know, I go in there with the sage, you know, saying the Our Father, shaking. But I knew that once that window was open, because the window in the kids' room was open, so I knew whatever it was flew out. And so I'm over here, like, just, again, still saging, still, like, you know, trying to get, you know, he's over here trying to calm me down, or just, you know, being supportive. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? So I go and I grab the Bible in the closet, and I grab the Bible, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, starting to feel a little bit better, but I'm still shaking. My nerves are shot, okay? And the time around when all of this is occurring, the time was around 2 to 3 in the morning, I believe. So I'm literally, you know, go back to bed, you know. I got a rosary too, one of those rosaries that's literally just for, like, the hands. Don't ask me how, but somehow I fit that over my son's head. I don't know how, because the next day when he tried to take it off, like, he ripped it. I don't know how I was able to get that on his head, like, you know, because it's literally the one for your hands. It's not the one that, you know, that you can wear as a necklace and, you know, whatever. So I have the Bible with me. I've come to lay down, and he's like, he stays on the phone with me. You know, my daughter's father, he stays on the phone with me, and he's just like, okay, are you okay now? And I was like, yeah, I think I am now. And so he was like, all right, I gotta go. And I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there, and I'm watching, I'm laying there, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck just happened? And I look over, because I have my grandmother's picture, like it's like a little, it's her badge for when my grandmother has passed away. It's my grandmother's badge for when she used to go to the, you know, the center. And so I kept that with me, and I put it on my lamp. So when I went to, like, I was thinking, like, well, I was like, Ma, like, because that's what I call my grandma, Ma. I was like, Ma, like, what the hell? Like, how could you let this happen to me? Like, what the fuck? And so I look over at her badge, and all of a sudden I'm telling you, it never moves. That thing has always been, like, face forward. All of a sudden I look over, and that shit's flipped over. I was like, oh my God. So needless to say, I didn't sleep that night. I did not fucking sleep that night. I was just petrified that night. I stayed up till like 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's when I finally got to go to sleep. Hold on, sorry. That's when I finally got to go to sleep. The next day, I remember I was just petrified. I couldn't touch my tarot cards. I couldn't even think about touching the pendulum. I went to the church, and I went to go get holy water, and I literally, I went to the church, and I went to go get holy water. And I remember just going to every corner and throwing holy water everywhere in my apartment. And just, you know, saying the Our Father, you know, saying all of that. And yes, you know, I am a witch. For those of you who are like, how can you be a witch and, you know, still be doing these things? But I grew up Catholic, so I will always, you know, go back to the basics, go back to what I was taught, how I was growing up. How I grew up. And that's just, you can still be a witch and still have certain traditions. I really do believe that there are, like, I'm not 100%, I am not 100% religious in this sense, but I really think that there is something to the Bible, and there is something to the Word of God, and to, you know, to that really irritates these beings, these entities, because I just remember feeling like I did not want to touch my cards. I was petrified. I thought like I was being punished, you know, whatever. Like, I thought all these things, a lot of things went through my mind. And it wasn't until I talked to my friend who said, you know, pretty much told me like, hey, like that's what it was trying to do. It was trying to scare you enough to where you would not continue on. And I really, that really sat with me, that something felt so threatened that it tried to scare me so bad, you know. And I was just like, okay, so I just know in my heart that what I'm doing and what I do, or what I do for others as well, is, you know, it's a blessing, and my gifts do come from the divine. They do come from the source. So you know, and I believe that I have a line. I come from a line of witches or powerful, you know, individuals from my ancestry, or, you know, or anything like that. I really do believe that. So I got back to doing tarot little by little, and yeah, that's my story. That's my first story, okay? So if anybody has experienced something similar, you know, just know, like, if you want to leave me a comment, or if you want to say, hey, like, I've experienced that, or like this is exactly what that was, because I really feel that that thing that was above me, that entity, and I will say entity, that was above me, I feel that it was causing me to have a nightmare, and it was feeding off of my nightmare. That energy, that fear, gave it power in some way, and I just feel like once, I don't know, and now I know that day when I was doing tarot and I was so fixated on the cards, and when I saw that dark shadow to the left of me at the corner, that was it. That wasn't my eyes or me just being tired. No, that was it. It was just waiting until I would fall asleep, and, you know, to do whatever it needed to do. So if anything, I have stopped using the pendulum. I have not used a pendulum in my readings at all whatsoever. I've just basically been using my cards, and that seems to be, that has worked out well enough for me. I don't need to use any pendulums or anything like that. But moving right along. So if, like I said, if something has happened, please leave me a comment. Let me know. Okay. Second thing that I want to talk about. If you feel that you are being attacked spiritually by a negative entity, or, you know, any type of evil, whichever way you want to classify it. I just recently had an experience where I was attacked spiritually, and it was causing me to have shortness of breath, you know, really bad pain in my heart, and it went on for about a week. Now, I'm not going to get into details about that, because I do, you know, respect a lot of different spiritualities, and I feel that everyone who practices their own type of faith, you know, much respect to each and everybody. I'm not one to judge. But when I feel that, you know, people hurt other people, or things harm other people, you know, just take notice of that, because that's not cool. And having been spiritually attacked, that wasn't cool. And so how do I even say this, you know, with that? I just want to be respectful, because I don't, like I said, I'm not one to judge. I'm not one to judge at all. But so what happened to me was just horrible. I ended up in the emergency, and I probably looked like one of those nuts on the freaking movies when they go and they're like, you know, they're being attacked by some type of spirit or entity, and they're like, something's happening to me. And then, like, you know, everything in the hospital, they're like, you look perfectly fine. Everything's fine. You know, your vitals are fine. Your heart rate's fine. Everything's fine. But you're like, no, you know, something's physically fucking going on with you, like spiritually. that was me, okay? You know what? They were like, oh, you're just under a lot of stress. I was like, motherfuckers, I am not under a lot of fucking stress. I just knew once I went to the ER and just got confirmation that I was on paper with, you know, their technology or whatever, that I was fine. That's when I knew that I was like, oh shit, I'm being fucking attacked. And there was a certain individual that is linked to this entity. A lot of people were, I will say this, and I'm sure once I say this, you'll probably already know, be like, I know what she's talking about. There was a certain individual that I knew that was linked to her, okay? And when I say her, you'll know what that means. If you're in the spiritual game, you'll know what that means. And this individual, like, you know, was linked to her without really knowing that he was linked to her. And from my understanding, from what we have gathered, was that this deity or this thing is a jealous being or a jealous woman. So once you worship her, you literally belong to just her. And so she, like, no one comes before her, not your wife, not your husband, not your children, nobody. And where it really starts to affect people, it starts to affect your children. It starts to affect your loved ones. So when all of this happened to me, I remember I started crying. I started crying because I was like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know what to think. And I ended up getting my necklace here. And this is my necklace of, I think it's Saint Benedict or, you know, San Benito. My grandfather gave me this necklace, and it's been cleansed, it's been saged, it's all good. I don't use this no more like that. And my grandfather gave this to me, and I remember him telling me that this will fight off evil, this will fight the demons, this will fight the devil. So I remember I put this on because I started, like, there was a point where I remember I walked up the stairs and I was just like so short of breath, and I literally thought, oh my God, I'm gonna fucking die right here in my kitchen. And I remember I put this necklace on and it literally went away. I was able to breathe. My heart just stopped hurting and everything was fine. I've since been connecting with angels, and I've been doing a lot of, you know, research into that and just kind of connecting, doing associated writing with my angel work. And I've since found out that I am very divinely protected. So don't, you know what, don't try and mess with me now, okay? And that I do in fact have 7 angels that are protecting me. One in particular that fights the hardest for me. Thank you very much. I know I'm a headache. And so I just want to say, so my second part of this story is that if you feel that you're being attacked, or if you feel that something is going on with you, please, you know, seek your faith, like really dive into it. Whatever you grew up with, or whatever, you know, whatever really you feel protects you, really get close to that. Because at that time when I was attacked, I wasn't really close to anything. I was just kind of like floating around, you know, just not really sticking to anything. And now that I know that these things exist, because I did not know, and that's crazy, that's naive of me. Now that I know that these things exist, I really feel that if you're going to get into the spiritual game, you need to be protected. You need to protect yourself. And if your faith is literally whatever it may be, okay, whatever it is, please, like, go hardcore for that. Because your faith, your belief system, that's what's going to save you each and every time from these entities, from these beings, because they don't like that. They don't like when people are happy. They don't like when people are when people vibrate on a higher vibration. They don't like when people have just such a sound faith or a sound sense of connection to source. And like I said, whatever that may be, they don't like that. So please make sure that you know, whatever it is that you do, wherever you find yourself spiritually, whether you're Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, whatever, just connect to source, and whatever other, you know, saints or deities or whatever it is you believe, please have a deep, profound connection, because I'm telling you, that is what saved my life. You know, if it wasn't for my angels who fought hard for me, I don't know where I would be. And it also took me stepping away from a certain individual as well. As painful as that was, I had to step away and I had to let that go. It was really, really hard, but I mean, I have children, I have to be around my children, and I choose my children over anything. And I'm so thankful, you know, for my grandmother and for how she raised me, and just the basis that, you know, of faith, in, you know, like I said, growing up in Catholicism, just everything that she taught me. Because when I was younger, I was just a die-hard Catholic. Like, I literally believed so hard. I would see things that, you know, people would never even see. I saw my first spirit when I was about 5 years old. I remember seeing things in the sky, you know, when I was younger. So I was deeply connected. I believe that when you are deeply connected in your faith, is that when no entity, no evil can really rock you. You know what I mean? But when you're not so connected, that's when these things can fuck with you. So, like I said, I respect each and every practice, any type of craft, any type of religion. I don't ever want to disrespect anybody, because this is your physical this is your physical experience that you're having here in the physical realm, and who am I to judge you? You know, you're supposed to do your thing. But I just hope that, you know, my hope is that nobody, you know, of course, I don't want anybody to hurt anybody, or any entities to hurt, you know, anybody. But I think that if anything you take away from this video is that we just need to be stronger and more connected to our faith, to source. You know, if you're gonna do your thing, do your thing. But, you know, like I said, just don't harm anybody, because that's not cool. And just being an individual who was spiritually attacked, it was not fun at all for me whatsoever. But I'm very grateful that I went through it, because I feel that hopefully this video helps somebody. I know I rambled, like, you know, in and out, and I'm trying to get my thoughts here. And I also have to go somewhere in a minute, so I'm trying to like spit this video out as fast as I can. But hopefully this video does help somebody, an individual that's in need. There's really something to this game, this spiritual game. You will be tested on what side you want to play for. Do you want to play for the good side? Do you want to play for the bad side? And, you know, to each his own, right? To each his own. But I just know now that I am very divinely protected. I am very connected to source, and, you know, to my angels, and, you know, and I will continue on. I know my purpose here. I'm learning my purpose here, but I feel that I already know what my purpose here is. So definitely thank you for watching my video. I hope that this helps somebody. I apologize for the rambling. I'm trying to, like, you know, God. Happy Halloween, everyone. Here's my little friend, Rosemary. Rosemary, she's my A1 day one witch. I mean, she has got it going on. All right, everybody, thank you for watching my video.